to the Jets.
Okay.
Because we can't not talk about the Jets.
I mean, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I don't know. I mean, I've tried to warn the Jets fans for 2 years now.
Brady couldn't wait for this conversation.
I feel bad in saying this. Like I tried to, it has nothing to do with Zach Wilson because I've actually been complimentary of him this year and saying that he has gotten better.
Yeah.
He gave them their best chance. I have no idea what Robert Saleh was thinking going to Tim Boyle. Like, he's a different skill set. Whatever.
Man ain't never had success, not even in college.
He doesn't have a season with more. He doesn't have a season in his career in college or the pros with more touchdowns and interceptions. That's crazy. He threw a Hail Mary pick six.
Yeah, that's
I never seen that. But Aaron Rodgers, he ain't coming back at this point. It would be crazy for him to come back. Behind that offensive line with their record, they need to really go 2-1 or 3-0 before their final 3 games to justifiably bring him back. The Hail Mary, that's right. Harry says in the chat. What did you guys make of Zach Wilson's reported reluctance? Let's couple hashtags.
I would say this, like, given how Robert Saleh and the New York Jets have handled this, it's crazy to me. Like, we keep talking about Zach Wilson and whether he was or wasn't reluctant to want to go back and play. Let's just take a step back. Like, at some point, you have to look at the position that they've put Zach Wilson in.
Thank you.
I said this before the season, it's not a knock on him, but they should have parted ways before the year. He needs a fresh start. They need to bring in someone else as a backup for Aaron Rodgers because he's the future. He's right now and he's the future, if and when he's healthy. And it never made sense to keep him on the roster. And then you do this to him this year. It has been one of the more baffling ways of handling a quarterback that at one point you thought so much of. You took number 2 overall. And then now in back-to-back seasons, you've benched him and jerked him around back and forth. What do you think was going to happen? I mean, how many other players who've been drafted at that spot and all that get jerked in and out like that? You really don't see that very often. Yeah. Usually they get the benefit of the doubt until the very, very end, until they're like, all right, we feel like we made a mistake. We're going to move on, go our separate ways.
Correct.
So the fact that we're here now, like, it's crazy to me that gets lost in all of this. Like, we're trying to pin this on either the comments of what Aaron Rodgers said or the reluctance of Zach Wilson. Who's holding, like, everyone involved in the decision and all of this accountable? Whether it's Robert Saleh or someone above him or ownership and Woody Johnson, like, who's holding them accountable? The Giants have quarterback issues too. You know what the difference is? It's not a circus right now with their situation of a backup playing, is it? Like,
no.
It's such a stark contrast between two organizations, both representing New York. And it's like the Giants have seemed to figure it out, but the Jets, it's a circus.
All right, easy, Brady. You don't have to kill my guys like that. Good Lord.
But
no, just
tell me
bring back Tebow.
I know you guys both follow me on Twitter, and Jet Nation, half of Jet Nation was rational. But when the reports, because I'm gonna put quotation marks out there, reports came out that he was reluctant to take the starting reins, I actually tweeted and said, I don't blame him. Right? Like reluctancy and just refusing to do something is two totally different things. So let me go ahead and put that out there before people take this and run with it and say, dude said, Zach Wilson, I don't blame him for not wanting to start. No, I said, report said he was reluctant to start, right? First and foremost, they need to find out who the rat is in that locker room, because if Zach was having those personal conversations with teammates, that's disgusting. That's a bigger issue right there. We always say, Brady, you can speak to this, certain things have to stay in the locker room, right? Certain things should not be getting out to personnel and to reporters and everything else. Second of all, I'm with you 100%, Brady. Like, even Robert Saleh came out for the longest and said, Zach Wilson gives us the best chance. And all these media pundits in New York and everybody else around, well, Tim Boyle maybe can give him a spark. I'm like, have you not seen Tim Boyle play? Robert Saleh purposely, because of the guy he is, did not want to throw Tim Boyle and Trevor Siemian under the bus because he knew they weren't any good. Right? He didn't want to throw them under the bus. So that's why week in and week out, he kept saying, Zach right now gives us the best opportunity to win games. And once we found out, or once everybody else found out, they were like, oh, that's what he meant. I mean, the dude's only in practice with the other guys every day of the week. You don't think there's somebody else on the roster currently that was better? He wouldn't put them in the game, right? So, like, you look at Zach Wilson for the last 2 years, been benched, brought back up to start, benched, brought up. You know what that does mentally? not only for a football player, but more specifically, Brady, a quarterback in New York. Like, you have to wonder where Zach Wilson's mental is right now. And I'm with you, Brady. I stated it either on this podcast, whether we were on Spotlight or HQ. I said, when they traded for Rodgers, Zach Wilson should have been part of the trade package, right? Just so he can get a fresh start, because I don't think people understand what it's like to be a quarterback in the city of New York, right? Everything is magnified, right? You can't do anything right. And if you do anything right, they're just waiting for you to fail so they can talk about it, right? So you have to be a different person when you're the quarterback of one of those two New York teams, right? We've seen Daniel Jones go through it. We've seen Zach Wilson. We saw Sam Darnold go through it.
Eli
right?
Manning went through it.
Exactly. Like, it's a different animal when you're a player in the city of New York. So, like, when I said I don't blame him for being reluctant, I mean, look at what they've put this kid through the last couple of weeks. And to your point, Brady, like, people kept looking at him as the number 2 guy. He wasn't supposed to see the field. He was a backup quarterback this year. For you to say he hasn't progressed means you don't watch film. He's clearly gotten better this year, but you got to stop for a second and think that he's not the number 2 pick anymore. He's the backup to Aaron Rodgers. He's a backup quarterback. So you're expecting backup type play. He was supposed to sit and watch Rodgers for 2 years and then possibly take over the reins. But at this point, there's no way that's happening.
All right. Good talk on Zach Wilson. And look, he's also probably doesn't want to get hurt because he wants to be traded or get released and go somewhere else.
I will say this. The offensive line has gotten healthier the last 2 weeks. I would say Tim Boyle had a lot of time in the pocket last week versus the Atlanta Falcons. So this will probably be the best O-line he's played behind this whole year.